I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed, just like Miss Gina Grad. Sticks, blue-collar man. Yeah. Gina said something off the air.
I know why you did that.
Yeah.
That's you and me, and you're literally in your blue collar right now.
Yeah, I got a blue collar shirt on right now. So there you have it. So
I'm happy to lead in here because we teased something on the last show and I'd love to pay it off for you. But before I do that, because ADD, one more thing. Did I tell you I because you told me to, and I try most of the time to do the things you tell me to do, that I ordered Think and Grow Rich and I started it the other day.
Congratulations. Did you order the Audible or the...
No, I like books. I like to read in bed, and I like to highlight in dog ear and all that.
Okay. How far have you gotten into the book?
Oh, like 25 pages.
Does that get into the second chapter?
I haven't started the second chapter.
Okay, because at some point you're going to have to write down stuff. I know it sounds like, oh, come on, man, Vinny's that guy. Yes, I am. But you write down stuff and you repeat it,
Yeah, I like that.
Twice a day type of stuff. And you don't do it for a week or two, you do it.
Yeah.
Trust me, folks, it works. It works because if I didn't start doing this, I would still be living on a bayou. There's nothing wrong with living on a bayou. Right. But
it's not where you were meant to be.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have ever been a D1 athlete. I wouldn't have ever graduated college. I know that for a fact. Everything that happened to me has to do with believing in myself and what I'm doing and transmutation and just the whole thing that they talk about in that book. And anyone can, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Bottom line. So Gina, I am proud and I'm happy.
Thank you.
I mentioned, I think on the show with Anna, that one of my New Year's resolutions, because I do several every year. Everybody goes, I'm going to stop drinking.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to go work out every day. I'm going
to floss.
I floss twice a day.
Of course you do.
Yeah. I come up with a myriad of things. Sometimes as many as 7 or 8 or 10 things.
Wow.
And I usually accomplish, let's say I come up with 7. I usually get through the whole year accomplishing 6 of them, if not all 7. Sometimes something falls off the page for whatever reason, something small that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because your big ticket items, I know you accomplish because we check in about them, like building a kayak and doing 365 hours of exercise.
Yeah. You want to know where I am for the year right now?
Yeah. 348.
And Gina, you're in Mensa.
Yeah.
How many days do we have left in a year?
Well, by what I just said, 17.
Yeah. So is that why you came up with that?
I mean, it was close. It was my first thought, I guess.
Right. How long have you known me?
Oh, it's over 365, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we cover that. We're at as of today, we're at 410 and some change. I'm looking at my book that's sitting right over there.
So technically you didn't hit your goal. You didn't do 365 hours of exercise.
Yeah, I screwed that up.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. When I hit that goal, when I hit 365, I then made a new goal of 420.
Wow.
So now I have how many days to get another 10 hours in?
Well, as we record this, I mean, as people hear this, is done.
Well, yeah, but all right. So
Happy New Year, everybody.
We're recording this on the 14th.
Yeah. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. 31. So that's 17. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like 16 days left. Yeah, 17 days. Yeah, you're right.
I am in Mensa. God damn it.
So we have 17 days left in this year, and I have to get another 10 hours. Now you go, oh, come on, Ben, that's easy. But Gina and I were talking off the air. I'm going to be traveling for one of those days. Serena has to leave town to go take care of something. So who knows if I'm not going to miss another day between,
Right.
podcasting and all the stuff we do and all that. And then when I get to England, there's always like a jet lag day. So I really need to pay attention now
Yeah.
before I leave next week, just to make sure that I'm gonna get my 420.
Now, are you going to Vinnie this, or can you do it like the rest of us lay people, where say you're walking around London and you hit 30,000 steps? Will you give yourself an attaboy and
No,
say
no,
that
no,
was my
no, no,
exercise?
no,
Oh,
no,
you
no,
face
no, 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 no. It needs to be dedicated. Otherwise, everything I do can be that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, 10,000 steps a day. You left that behind a mile ago.
Yeah, so no, that doesn't count. So people ask me all the time, it's like, hey, when you get on the phone and you're walking and talking to your clients, do you count that? No, it doesn't count. No. This is aside from that.
Yeah, the one Vinnie thing, one of the many Vinnie things I've picked up is there's no more sitting and waiting at an airport anymore. I go, okay, you hold my stuff, bye, husband, and I just start walking because
Yeah.
I know that's a Vinnie thing at the airport.
And by the way, there are other people who do it. If you get to an airport early, you identify that your gate is still your gate. That's what I do. I identify
Yep.
that. And then I start walking, and you'll see other people who are doing the same thing. You don't notice them when you're just bustling through the airport, but
Right.
when you're going to one end and the other, you'll start seeing
Passing
some
each other.
people,
Yeah.
right? And some women, like they'll go in their tights, but a lot of women
Mhm.
travel in tights, but you'll know who they are because they have their running shoes on and there's something tied around their waist.
Yes. Well
Like,
said.
right. So you'll see those people,
That's
right? And
funny.
you'll see them going back and forth because they're at different places in the airport. So you say, oh, wait, I've seen that person 3 times. Either he or she is a terrorist or they're doing what I'm doing.
They really don't know when their flight leaves.
Yeah, they're confused.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm starting to adopt that whole sitting is the new cigarettes that people talk about,
You know you're right. Like, of
Yeah,
course you do.
sitting is the new smoking. And,
Yeah, being sedentary.
yeah. And look, I get asked all the time. People say, hey, you always say you can lose all this weight without exercise. Absolutely. Absolutely. But exercise is the fountain of youth. It just is.
And another one that's come up lately for me that I've been noticing, and I'm sure that you agree to an extent, exercise prevents injury. So when you're, because like I'll, trip over my own shoes and I don't want to break my ankle. I want to have a strong body.
Right. And as we get older, think about it. We watch these football players get knocked down tragically over and over and over. It looks like a bus hit a train.
Yeah.
I mean, and these guys bounce back up. When you get older, you can fall and that can end your life. You break a hip, you end up in a hospital. How many times have you heard, hey, so-and-so's aunt died? What happened? Broke a hip, ended up in the hospital.
And
dead.
I never understood that. I thought, what happens to the hip that causes you to die? And now I understand you are now sedentary.
Yeah. Part of it is, you'll get in the hospital, you'll get some other infection.
Right.
Or, you get in there and the hip just doesn't heal right.
Yeah.
Or, just on and on and on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let's do what we can to prevent that.
And it's preventable. That's the deal. It is preventable.
Right. And so this should definitely, little things like that. Like, yes, of course, do you want to lose 30 pounds? And sure. And Vinnie will show you how to do it. And that's great. But it's like telling my stepson, go clean your room. I always tell my husband, he doesn't know what that means. I didn't know what that meant. Break down the tasks. Put your clothes that are on the floor in your basket. Then make your bed. Then You don't say clean your room. He looks at you like a dog being shown a card trick. So if I'm saying lose weight, what do you mean? Okay, we're cutting out the sugars and grains. We're walking when we're generally sitting. We're, when we're watching TV. My rule is general, and sometimes I hit it more than others, especially if, my husband and I it's like a Saturday night and we're chilling. But in general, I have a no sitting while watching TV. So I do my balance board that you sent me that I love. I'll hold my kettlebell and bring it up and down. And I'm still watching the same show everyone else is. I'm just not sitting.
It makes a big difference. You know my deal. You've seen around my office. I got a rower and two bikes next to it.
Damn rower.
Yeah, and I'll probably hit 90 minutes on a rower tomorrow. That'll get me closer to my goal of getting to that 120.
And make it bite size. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why we get overwhelmed. Like kids get overwhelmed. Go, be a good kid. Go clean your room. What does that mean? Break it down into things that we can accomplish. And it's the same thing with weight loss.
When I was a kid, I never had a messy room. Like I've had that issue my entire life. Everything has to be in its place or I can't go to bed. Literally everything has got to be in its place.
Wow.
Like in our house, Serena does the cooking. I do the cleaning. It could be, I could finish, football games here end at close to midnight.
Oh, sure. Because 3 hours ahead of us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got to go in that kitchen and I don't go to bed until that kitchen is spotless. It looks like, Better Homes and Gardens coming in with the cameras the next day before I go to bed.
We're not familiar with that route.
It changes. We started the show talking about, that book and the whole thing. It's part and parcel of that. When it comes to everything. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but when I got to college and I got my first apartment, which was the second year, me and my buddy Mike, who was also a football player, we finally had a sink and we can have stuff at the house, even though we were still in a training table at the school. We would have stuff in the fridge and in the house and the whole thing. And we were there living for a couple of days and I saw stuff in the sink for the first time in my life. And I'm like, why is this here?
This animal.
I was looking at it as if it was an algebraic equation. And I'm sure Mike was doing the same thing. At first I started saying, Mike's a freaking animal. And then I realized, wait a minute. My entire life, I grew up in an Italian household. Great-grandmother, grandmothers, the whole deal. Fighting over who was going to feed you the most and who was going to clean up behind you. I put something in the sink and magically it would disappear, go away to some fairyland.
Oh, yeah, of course. The elves.
Yeah. You walk back in, it's all cleaned up. Bada bing, bada boom.
Wow.
Right.
One of those self-cleaning sinks.
Yeah. All of a sudden I'm looking around and it occurred to me like about 3 days in when it was like piling over. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Mama Virginia is not here. My grandma Katie's not here. Mike ain't going to do this. And by the way, I learned very quickly that when food sits on stuff, it's hard to get off.
Oh, it sure is.
You need a chisel and a hammer. And
that's right.
I learned that lesson that day, that you eat it, you clean it, you put it away. And I didn't even have the conversation with Mike.
How'd that work?
I did it. I did it all. And then he saw me doing what, oh, he's eating and cleaning up. Well, I can't be the guy messing up.
Nice.
He did the same thing. Never had to have a conversation.
Wow.
We're still friends today.
As I said in a previous show, you're just very lucky in some ways.
That's not luck. It's people will do the right thing given the opportunity.
Most of the time, yeah.
Right?
The majority, sure.
When someone sees you doing the right thing, they want to,
And if for no other reason, it's not like, I want to be a good person. It's, I don't want to be shamed. Let me get on board and do the right thing, which is a great motivator, as my old boss used to say. Adam Carolla, shame could be a great motivator when it comes to cleaning and things like that. But you're right. And this all, like you said, it's part and parcel. Yes. Are some of us messy as possible and we have great, eating and exercise habits? Sure. But in general, it all kind of fits together. So, you're going to, all those things will make you feel better when your house is in order and your skin suit house is in order. Well, I don't think that came out right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So as I was saying at the beginning of the show,
Lecter shit. Okay.
I want to pay off the thing I mentioned last week. And I thought it really hit me hard. And I thought you might have thoughts about it. I know it's not technically a nutrition thing, but when I used to ask my mom when I was little, like, why do people get cancer? And she'd be like, nobody knows. I don't know. They just do. Your number's just up. And that never sat right with me. Of course, she wasn't a doctor and neither am I. But I thought that can't be right. It can't just be your numbers up. And I saw this headline and it just stuck with me. So I wanted to share it with you. It says, this is from Daily Mail, more than 13,000 cases of cancer in the US every year are caused by foods laced with toxic metals. And that we're talking chocolate and cereal, but we're also talking leafy green vegetables and some baby foods. And this isn't to be, like go down the rabbit hole with a tinfoil hat. This is just something, we should be aware of it. It says lead, arsenic, and cadmium levels in food have been rising in recent years as they seep into the soil and water and contaminate crops used to feed particularly vulnerable populations like children. So this isn't like, some mad scientist is pouring it in the food. It's coming in through the soil. And it's just something to be aware of, because when I would say, why do people get cancer? And the answer was, I don't know. So we talk about processed foods. We talk about, hot dogs and Cheetos. And now we're all coming around on, those could really mess things up for me later. But when it comes to the soil, I got nothing. It's just something to be aware of, I guess.
It seems like it seems like weak science based on association.
I hope.
Because we don't, well, it's not that you hope, it's all of it, and this isn't me talking, I've had Dr. Anthony J on this show at least a half a dozen times, if not more. And he's a guy that I can get on a phone call on any given day. He wrote an incredible book. He's been coming on a show for like 8 years called Estrogeneration.
Oh, that's a good title.
And it's a good book. And he's written other stuff, and he left Mayo Clinic at some point, but he was with the Mayo Clinic for years.
My boy.
So this is not some kind of,
fly by night. Guy. Yeah.
And when he talks about all of the environmental impact of why we get all these cancers now, yeah, that's one. Plastics. I mean, I had a guy on the show recently who kayaked around Greenland and Iceland. Do you know about this guy? Did I talk about him?
No, but I have a feeling I know where this is going in terms of ocean impact.
Well, part of what he did while he was out there for 6 months and he circumvented those two areas, and wow. Just an unbelievable human being, British guy. And part of what he was doing was for science, he was collecting seal poop. And they found traces of plastic and seal poop. So when you think, boy, when you're there, you're in one wilderness that can't be touched by environment.
No,
the environment can't be touched by outside.
Yeah, this isn't SeaWorld seals. Right. These are in the middle of the ocean seals.
In the middle of a desert. I mean, the North Pole is one of the biggest deserts in the world, right? And the water next to the desert. It's like, okay. You're in this frozen, frozen tundra is like saying tundra, or frozen.
Right.
But you're in this tundra, and it happens to be a desert, and it happens to have a huge body of water next to it. What can be more remote than, can you think of, that sounds like if T. Boone Pickens was going, that's about as remote as a desert next to a tundra next to an ocean.
Just quoted T. Boone Pickens. Oh my God. That's wow. I wasn't expecting that. Go ahead.
Me either. But I mean, that's what we're talking about. You cannot get any more remote than where you can go to see the gases. What do they call those gases that fly around?
The Aurora Borealis?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You're looking at that.
Yeah.
That's what those seals look at every night. It's like, hey, let's get high and watch some gases change.
That's right. The magnetic pole.
Wait, I got one more.
Oh, good.
We had a governor who saw Russia from near that area. Okay.
Good one.
So at any rate, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And by the way, folks, I know that my geography is off. I do realize that we're way further north than Alaska.
Yeah.
Please don't judge me here. But you got plastic. They're ingesting plastic somehow, or it's getting in. I mean, that's when you look at that. When that guy told me that, I just went, where can I grab a gun? I
Yeah,
need to have a pistol sandwich right now because this is not going in the direction I thought.
Well, and then to make matters worse, to bring it home, you're talking about a seal in the middle of a desert where none of us are anywhere near. Now, think about us in the middle of a metropolis with everything made of plastic and consuming everything in sight. We're made of plastic. We're bionic.
We got plastics. We got, people go, oh, all the mercury. You eat fish, you get mercury. It's like, really? Is that your biggest problem? You think that you really think that's your biggest problem?
At this point, we should have Fisher Price stamped on our asses. We have so much plastic in us.
We got poor people mining stuff so that we can have cars that we can plug in.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? You don't think that might be a problem? We're creating problems by the day.
Yeah. We're solving problems that create problems.
I figured out, a long time ago, I would look at this at night and I would look at it, and then I would close my eyes and I felt like I was in a disco. I would see strobing. Yeah. So I asked an expert, and I was like, why do I see that? And they were like, this is strobing all the time.
The phone, yeah.
Yeah. Look how beautiful she is. Is it just me?
She's a stunner, your lady.
Come on.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Don't tell her.
Yeah, not fair.
Yeah. No, it's not fair.
Oh my God. No, you guys each won the lottery in your own special way.
No, she won. I won the lottery. She's punching way down.
Well, I have another story that might make you feel a little better in the sense that TikTok doctors, who people are listening to for better or worse, are agreeing with you. So if they say it on TikTok, it must be true. And finally, they're saying something that might be helpful.
Go on.
Okay, so this is Dr. Midge Brown, and she goes by Dr. Midge, and she's a big social media person apparently, and she's bringing to light this thing that is brand new. Most people have never heard of it. It's called insulin resistance. I can school you on this later if you're not familiar.
Please do. What is this insulin resistant you're talking about?
Make a note. I don't have time to stop down on the show and explain this to you. So Dr. Midge wants to educate everyone saying, just so you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 foods I have on this list that you've been eating your whole life and consuming because they're healthy, quote unquote, please stop. Now, none of these are going to come as any great shock to you, but it is good to know that somebody who's being listened to by people who can't digest things that aren't 30 seconds or less are listening. First, of course, she says fruit juices, and not just any fruit juices, Vinnie. Fruit juices. Tell me if this sounds like something you've ever said. Mangoes, pineapples, and bananas, like exotic island fruits that you specifically mention all the time. Very high in sugar, so much so that they should be treated like a dessert, she says. This isn't your morning bowl, a cup of cut up fruit, and aren't you healthy? I'll keep going just to kind of give you some validation.
Yeah, because I had no idea.
No, I don't see you writing, by the way. You definitely should be taking notes.
Oh, yeah. If I had a pen, I would write all of this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to have Leona give me the notes of what you're talking about. Don't worry.
Thank you. I was going to say I didn't see a calligraphy pen in your hand, so I know you're not. Oat milk, which, oxymoron. 1 cup of oat milk has 15 grams of carbs, and we're not talking about the ones that are added with sugar, just the oat milk. And let's not even get into, and I know you've talked about it before, how I think I don't know if it was a legal battle. I think it was a legal battle that got oat milk and all those non-milks to be put in the dairy section.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was yelling about that.
Rice milk, oat milks. Yeah. Let's move on to this one. She says is a controversial one, and because it's recommended to diabetics as a healthy option, oatmeal. If you really want oatmeal, she says, she recommends the Steel Cut brand, and
That's where she's
know,
wrong
I
for the
know,
first time. So sorry.
I know. You're oatmeal
Your
free.
liver's sitting there going, oh, wait, it was Steel Cut? In that case.
I totally agree with you. But she says, at the very, very least, stay away from instant oatmeal. My guess, and I don't know, at first it's added, the brown sugar or whatever oatmeal flavor. But my guess is, I know your liver doesn't know the difference, but will it be metabolized faster if it's like a processed instant as opposed to maybe a slower Steel Cut? I don't know.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
The difference is when no, it's not that it's metabolized, is that it passes through your stomach just a little quicker. Yeah, it takes longer to break down a steel oat because it's a heavier oat.
Okay.
But the part she's missing out on is when you have that heavier oat, the idea is, oh, you get more of a steady stream of energy.
Right.
That's the wrong way to think about it. You're just going to have more of a load that's going to last longer, and your body has to keep releasing insulin to break that load down. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know how I talk about
I see.
candy bars spike and comes down,
Yes.
and then bread goes up and stays up.
Yes.
Rolled oats goes up, stays up, and stays up longer than bread.
So that's
You're becoming more insulin resistant the more of that crap you eat.
I am so glad I said it then, because I know I needed that clarification, because I always know oatmeal, not so good, but why? Always helpful to be reminded. And finally, I don't know anyone that still eats these, but boy, in the 80s and 90s, was this the go-to snack du jour. The beloved, the holy, the royal, His Highness, the rice cake. And she says, I think the calories in, calorie out enthusiasts love this one because 2 rice cakes only have 70 calories, but they have 14 grams of carbs and barely any fiber. So the beloved rice cake of yesteryear, get rid of it.
Look, I'm glad she's out there saying this kind of stuff, Gina.
Yeah,
I'm glad because,
me too.
Look, TikTok doesn't want to know geezer like me. You need a young doctor named Dr. Midge.
That's
and then
and just to put a finer point on it, she says the reason all of these foods are not so healthy is because they have a huge glycemic impact after you eat them. The bigger the glycemic impact, the bigger the insulin impact, and that is not good. This leads to insulin resistance. And then, of course, describing that insulin resistance is the root cause of all lifestyle-related diseases that most of us are suffering from. And we're talking cancer, we're talking heart disease, fatty liver, ED, dementia, migraines, diabetes. I mean, all things that you've mentioned. And I feel like you haven't maybe mentioned ED specifically, but you got to think that would take a toll on the old libido.
We've talked about it a lot in the show because when I talk about guys who have called, well, no, I get them on the show. Not on the show. I get them on the telephone. Sorry.
Yeah.
I get them on the telephone and they'll say, hey man, I've been doing this. I've lost all this weight. And we talk about, this number's changed, that number's changed. And at some point they'll go, look, I know we're a couple of dudes here, but the old lady's happy again. They'll put it in some kind of way.
Yeah, the old ball and chain smiling.
Yeah, everything happens. I thought I was going. I've had young people, husband and wife, who were trying to get pregnant. Tons of these, not just 1 or 2, tons of them, where all of a sudden, she gets pregnant. They've tried every drug, every this, every that, all the stuff.
Well, it does. I mean, I've read on many sources that weight gain does interfere with that. But just out of curiosity, are you talking men, women, or both in terms of weight loss and pregnancy?
Both.
Interesting.
But, it's only the ones that, I don't have an epidemiological study on this, but it's just the ones that tell me.
Right.
Everything we went through in vitro, we did this, we did that. My wife kept losing the baby, or the wife will say, this happened and I couldn't get pregnant and all this stuff. And then, we tried your stupid low carb NSNG thing. And next thing you know, we stopped trying and the whole thing. Next thing you know, I'm 20 pounds down, she's 30 pounds down, and she's pregnant.
Yeah. And I don't think that's wizardry. I mean, because
No.
for women like me who have studied this sort of thing, weight gain is something I have read that's like, if you're even remotely trying, you want to get that under control because it's harder when it's not the
Yeah,
case.
absolutely.
So Dr. Midge, I can set up a call with her if you want to know more about this sort of new, might be a fad. I'm not sure, but
it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I just
does.
wanted to put a bug in your ear.
Come on, fruit juice is supposed to be good for you. It's got the vitamin C, you know.
Well, and if it's cut up fruit, what does it matter what kind of fruit it is? Because it's called fruit. Hello, ever heard of fruit?
Because you're supposed to have 5 servings of that and vegetables every day.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know where I'd be without my rice cakes.
Yeah. You know, maybe I should think about, not eating all the fruit. Oh, wait, hang on. Gina, we'll make that the final word, because that kind of thing drives me up one wall and down the other. Folks, she's got a book out there called My Extra Mom, and I have it. I've read it twice. And also she's got My Extra something on
My Extra Family. Because there's going to be more of My Extra books. My Extra Family on Instagram. Please follow it. Lots of great stuff on there for step parents, for regular old parents, for families. If you have ever had parents, you will relate to this. My Extra Family on Instagram, My Extra Mom, that of course you should order by clicking on Vinnie's banner on his website. Take you right to Amazon. Doesn't cost you another dime. And then I can keep doing the show with Vinnie.
And here's the thing. As Gina said, if you've ever had a parent or two, you need this book.
Thank you.
So think about it. If you didn't have a parent, okay, don't get the book. But otherwise, get the book. But you know what to do with me. Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track.
Doesn't cost you a thing.
The other thing that don't cost you a thing is rating and reviewing. So rate and review this podcast. Unless you hate it, then don't rate it or review it. But if you love it, just take a minute out, go rate and review this podcast. I really appreciate that. Gina reminded me of this song during the show, so we're going to go out with a little bit of Mick Jagger. So on behalf of Gina Grad, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with the Stones, Brown Sugar.
Nice.